to Mid-State Money Talk. My name is Cynthia Defazio, joined today by Kevin Dietrich and Joe Dietrich of First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. To our viewers at home, when you're thinking to yourself about starting the retirement journey, are you thinking about resetting the compass? Are you thinking about how your retirement strategy can look a little bit different in the early years? When you think about it, think about climbing up a mountain. Perhaps you're going on a hike and you have everything you need, you have all the tools. Well, what about when you get to the top? Do you have the same confidence on the descent that you would have when you were going up? We can actually correlate this with your investment strategies when it comes to retirement. And how does that terrain shift when you're in early retirement versus when you're in the later years? Viewers at home, thank you for being with us today. We're going to have a fun show, an informative show, and let's talk about investment shifts over time. Joe, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's so good to see you. Yeah. And Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing, Cynthia?
Doing wonderful.
Good.
And I love talking about this topic. I know we're going to talk about resetting the compass and investment strategies, if you will, but in my mind, I am picturing all those people that even climb up Mount Everest, and they get to the top and they think that they're going to be just fine getting all the way down, but then something happens, or maybe you take the wrong turn and you're lost if you don't have a Sherpa, you don't have a guide. But gentlemen, you are the guide to all the viewers in central Pennsylvania. You are the Sherpa.
Well, thank you. Yes,
so no one's
right.
going to get lost on their retirement journey.
They shouldn't. They don't need to.
They don't need to. But when you think about it, the early retirement window is so different than every other phase. So let me ask you, why is early retirement phase such a critical time for adjusting, if you will, your investment strategies in central Pennsylvania?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're in a unique stage right before in that early years of retirement, we call it the red zone, but you know, the fancy name for it is called the sequence of return risk. Your sequence of return risk. What does that mean? Well, it means that, you know, during these years, if we have a bad year or bad 18 months, we take a major hit into our income, into our investments. That's going to kind of build upon itself. That sequence of return risk is going to build and build and build, and the viability of our long-term plan can be in jeopardy. So during this time, we really want to be careful as to the risks that we're taking, setting out our income sources with confidence, and so that we do not take that catastrophic loss in the red zone period, that very important pot. So, I mean, 10, 15 years later, if we take a large hit during those times, the plan, the long-term viability of that plan is going to still be okay, but it's this very important early years that we need to be careful with.
Most definitely. So you're just stepping into that retirement terrain.
Yeah.
So Kevin, I should ask you.
Joe was so excited to do that, he dropped his pen.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. He's like, I'm thinking about climbing now.
Yeah, that's right.
I've just disconnected. I'm up the mountain.
That's right.
So Kevin, I should ask you, how should they think differently, retirees overall, with risk specifically versus when they were still working? Because now they're entering their retirement years and it's a whole different terrain.
Yeah.
How should you approach risk?
That's a great question. We actually talk about that during our workshop, and that we're noticing some things from our experience, is that when you're working earlier on in your career, you can assume more risk. Typically, you're a little more risky in your in your investment strategies. So you can take on more risk because you have more time to make that. If the market does take a little bit of a dip, you have more time to make that up.
Okay.
As you approach that retirement red zone, which Joe talked about, you should dial down that risk. Typically, that's what does happen. So people that are 20 years from retirement might have a higher risk score, typically, than people that are within that pre-retirement. When we say pre-retirement, we're talking about 10 to 5 years in before you're going to retire.
Okay.
So if you want to retire at 65 and you're 55, you're in that pre-retirement stage.
Okay.
If you want to retire at 65 and you're 60, you're still in that retirement red zone phase.
Okay.
So typically the risk, what you want to take on assume as risk is lowers. So you don't want to, that should be a transition though.
Yes.
Sometimes people, when they see the market come down, 2008 was an example,
yes.
the market took a 40% hit.
Yes.
People pulled the money into cash. Well, then they never got the rebound. So when it did rebound, they never took the advantage of the rebound.
Wow.
And so that was an aggressive, negative type of response. We
Yeah,
see
they're being
those all the
reactive.
time.
They're being reactive at that point. We don't want to be reactive. We
Yeah.
want to have a plan. We want to execute on the plan. We want to have confidence that the plan is going to see us through those ups and downs. That kind of recency bias, right? 2008, 2022, we see a drop, and we have people coming in. We're talking, and it's like, well, I just got scared, so I just moved my entire 401k over to a stable fund or a cash fund.
Right.
And okay, but now you just missed, 14% returns
Growth,
over the
yeah.
last, however many months. And we see it on the opposite side too, where we sit down. I sat down with a couple, and they acknowledge we acknowledge that, hey, we got to adjust our risk tolerance here, and here's where I feel my risk tolerance is and where I think is appropriate. And we were in agreement on that. And then we go and look at the accounts and go, well, you're kind of investing like you're 30 years old, and that's, but they don't want to give that up either. So there's a kind of a FOMO to all of this as well. We need to have some realistic conversations about what do we need to take on to be successful and not chase certain things.
We also see it from another perspective, is that people come in, they're within 5 years of retirement, and they move everything to stable value, and they're not taking advantage of the growth that in those 5 years.
Oh,
So maybe
wow.
not move all of it to stable value, but
Yeah.
let's move a portion. But it's so important to have that Sherpa,
Yes.
that guide, to make sure that, hey, we know these are increments that we need to transition to. And so climbing Mount Everest, we wouldn't just go get a backpack and a bottle of water and climb
Nope.
Mount Everest. We're going to need a guide. We're going to need to do some planning and be proactive. And so it's no different than retirement.
Most
so it's
definitely.
important that you have that guide, the Sherpa.
Most definitely, because when you think about it, the one thing I'm hearing you both say is that you like to neutralize emotion. Emotional decisions can be derailing.
Oh, yeah.
Just like when you're climbing the mountain, if you make a decision, it could actually impact you where you fall off the mountain. You just have to be careful.
Yeah.
So the first few years of retirement, Joe, do you see that a lot of people are spending too aggressively even? Are they just going through their funds quickly?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay.
I think I would more accurately describe it as you can expect that there's going to be some changes to your spending.
Okay.
And we see people that go really conservative and they're afraid to not spend anything, and then they end up with more money at the end of their life than experiences. But on the opposite side too, there's people that are like, hey, I'm young, I want to live, and they overspend. The biggest danger is not knowing where your limits are. What is the range in which that we can safely handle our spending, and for a purpose, right? The spending is for your retirement lifestyle. So what are the goals? Let's start with what are the goals are, and then we can work backwards and we can set some parameters, we can be disciplined, and we can have some confidence that we're going to get where we want to be.
Well, Joe, I know that you and Kevin have a very special message to the viewers at home. Please talk about what that is before we take our first commercial break.
Absolutely. So how do we know that we're in that spot? How do we know that we have the appropriate spending levels? Come in and sit down and talk with us. Call the number on the screen, 888-959-2743. There's a QR code as well. You can scan that with your smartphone. You'll have somebody to be able to talk to. Give us a call. You can go to our website, firstchoicefinancialservicesinc.com as well, but come in and give us a call. When you meet with us, we're going to sit down, we're going to get to know you, we're going to talk through your situation, and we're going to look at where you want to go. But when you leave, you're going to have a customized complimentary retirement plan that's suited just for you. So please give us a call.
Joe, thank you. Kevin, thank you. To the viewers at home, the number to call is 888-959-2743, 888-959-2743. Just like you're going through a hiking expedition and you get to the top of the mountain, your investment strategies will change as you're coming down the mountain. That's what today's show is all about. But how do you tie it together? How do you make sense? How do you create a plan that's going to support all of your spending needs in retirement? We're going to do a deep dive into that into our next segment. But once again, let me give you the phone number one more time. I know you're anxious to call, 888-959-2743, or better still, click the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That's going to be the fast track to get on the schedule of First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. Stay with us. We have so much more about how your philosophy for investing should change in the retirement years when we return.
The most common mistakes that we find that retirees make really is they started getting advice from planners way too late. You know, we've had people come in and say, well, I'm 65 now, I want to start planning my retirement. What? Well, okay, that's like signing up for fire insurance after your house burned down, you know. you don't want to do that. So really, you're sitting there watching us, you're getting information. We're so happy you're doing that. But pick up the phone. We'd love to talk to you. Come on in, shake our hands and sit down and tell us what your issues are. Let us look over your situation. Let us point out some other areas that you're not aware of. And let's do this right. You know, we have people come in at 50 years of age. We have people come in at 55. I think you should come in 10 years before you're going to retire. That's an ideal time to do it. So then, after you retire and you're living your life, you don't have near as many problems, issues come up that you now have to find a way to deal with. Let us get that all taken care of up front. And then your red zone before you retire is 5 years before you actually retire. And then we call a red zone 5 years after you retire. And if you came to us 10 years before you retire, they're almost non-existent because we've set up plans, we've paid off mortgages, you know, we've opened deferred compensation programs at work. And people say, well, why would you do that? Well, come in, we'll tell you. You know, it's really important to do things like that. And so we want to talk with you. We want to assure that you're going to have the kind of retirement that you've dreamt about.
Welcome back to Mid-State Money Talk. My name is Cynthia Defazio, joined today by Kevin Dietrich and Joe Dietrich of First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. We're talking about entering the early phase of retirement. This is when you say goodbye to that job and you're on your own terrain right now. And when you think about it, what happens in this phase of life truly is your money that you've been working hard for, your money is now working hard for you. And so we're going to talk about how investment strategies change and will help correlate your everyday spending needs. So thank you for being with us in this segment. Joe, I should ask you about that because obviously it's such a change with structuring investments to support dependable income. How do you even go about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why it's important to sit down with somebody that does this day in and day out.
Yes.
Right? We can, because your situation is going to be unique to you. And so we're going to structure what you have that's unique to you to support your income. Social Security is going to be certainly something that we want to coordinate. That decision is super, super important. But depending upon your other assets, do you have a pension? Do you not have a pension? Are you married? Are you single? What other tax qualified accounts that you have? Are they traditional, Roth, taxable? All of these things are going to be determined. But we want to look at a safety first approach that's going to kind of bucket those monies or time segment those monies so that we know of certainty where our income is coming from at each stage of our retirement.
So important because obviously people have so many questions about that. Yeah. So Kevin, I should also ask you, what role does flexibility play in early retirement investment strategy? How flexible does someone need to be?
Yeah, I think flexibility is a general need for us as human beings.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important.
Being flexible in retirement, pre-retirement, during working career is so important. Sometimes you might have to adjust withdrawals. If you want to take a certain withdrawals out and the market maybe is coming down, you might have to adjust that. You know, and might have to include some income from elsewhere. Planning for irregular expenses is really important. I mean, we have to make sure there's money set aside for home repairs or if you want to travel. When we do our planning, we include travel expense. If they want to travel once a week, that's a lot. Once a year or twice a year, we need a plan for that. How much is we're going to budget for that?
Okay.
So budgeting, even in retirement, is important.
That's right.
You know, and we might have some home repairs.
Absolutely.
There might be some medical expenses that come up.
Quite a few this year, frankly. We were just talking about the other day where it seems prevalent this year that everybody had dental work that needed to be done, and you know that. It's just one of those things, you know. So several clients, and we had we had planned for that. We have assets that are established for those kind of flexibility, and that's important because that doesn't then disrail the plan. But that just seems to be something that was hot this year. But you know, next year might be something different.
So we have to be flexible as advisors, and the client has to be flexible as well, knowing that, hey, they might not be able to pay off the mortgage as early as they wanted to, or maybe as early as the plan we projected to.
Sure.
I have a client that came in, and the plan was to set up some accounts and then take some free withdrawals out of the accounts. They were annuities, actually. Take some free withdrawals out of the annuities to pay off the mortgage, to pay a chunk of money on the mortgage each year.
Okay.
That was the plan. Then they called me up one day and says, I need a new truck. We just took our truck to get inspected. It's got rust all over the place. We need a new truck. And so they called me and said we needed it, but they actually said, oh, by the way, we bought it.
Oh my gosh.
So we had to make some adjustments. We have to be flexible.
Yes.
Their plan has to be flexible. Now that particular year, they couldn't take that out the withdrawals to pay down their mortgage.
Okay.
And then she came to me, she called me the other day, this lady, and she says, by the way, I'm done in March. I got laid off. So they're closing the business down so that she's done in March. So we have to be flexible. And the planning that we do has to allow for that flexibility.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you brought that
Another word
up,
comes
Joe.
to mind. Flexibility is certainly, we got to be able to be adaptable. We got to be resilient, right? The
Right.
plan has to be established in such a way that it can handle a little bit of the bumps. So
Yes.
flexibility is a good word, but flexibility in the way that it's resilient. It's going to continue to keep you on track.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said flexibility.
I did say flexibility.
Adaptable.
We can be fluid. We'll just change
Yeah,
it.
there you go. There you go.
And I love that. So what I was starting to say actually is you can't get that kind of guidance, if you will, from a statement in the mail. Nowhere does it show you how to be flexible, how to plan for unexpected dental bills, if you will, or just changes in your life. So Joe, I should ask you, let's flip gears just for one more time, if we could, about taxes. How do they affect investment changes during this stage of life? How do taxes play a role?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think last episode we talked about asset location and having multiple different tax accounts, taxable, tax deferred, and Roth accounts. And this is why that's super important. This resilience comes from being able to handle these things without throwing us into a new tax bracket. Taking penalties on accounts or withdrawals, particularly if we're not 59.5. These things are very important to be able to set up and be resilient in those plans. Sequencing the accounts as to which account do I go to next if I have an emergency, and having it prepared.
So true.
And selecting the investments inside of that account where we have carved out stable funds that we know this is my emergency fund. Do I have liquidity? Do I have my emergency funds? And do I have my long-term growth funds? All of these work together to be able to provide some resilience in our plans. Yep.
And we're talking just about the short-term view, but what about the long-term view, Joe? I know we're going to talk about that in the next segment, but how important is it to have that shape be overall, not only for the current phase of retirement, but also towards the end of retirement?
Well, I think that's the difference between the pile of statements and a true customized plan for you, is that long-term view. A pile of statements will tell you, well, I have X amount of dollars, and that feels like it's enough, right? But we don't really have a whole lot of certainty on that. We don't know how we're going to withdraw that money. We don't know how it's going to handle the bumps and bruises of life. So having a complementary plan, and that's what we're offering. If you call the number on the screen and you have an appointment on our calendars, we're going to sit down and we're going to go through your situation, which is unique to you. So the number on the screen is 888-959-2743. Get some time with us. When you walk away, you're going to have a complimentary customized retirement plan. That's going to give you confidence that your long-term goals, your long-term plan is going to be on track.
Joe, thank you so much. Kevin, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number once again, 888-959-2743, 888-959-2743. We've talked about the early phases of retirement, but in this next segment, we're going to spend a lot of time looking at your long-term view and how those investments need to change so that you have sustainable income. Once again, 888-959-2743. Or we've made it even simpler. You can grab your smartphone, open the camera app, and just click on the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That is the fast track to get on the schedule at First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. Remember, most importantly, there's no obligation. It's complimentary. And what you leave with is not only peace of mind, but that complimentary customized retirement plan just for you. Stay with us. We'll be right back momentarily.
According to a recent Transamerica retirement survey, over 1/3 of American workers have already dipped into their retirement savings to handle day-to-day expenses. And nearly 40% have reduced their contributions. For those approaching retirement with significant assets, this may sound like somebody else's problem, but it's a warning worth noting. Economic pressure doesn't discriminate. High net worth individuals are just as vulnerable to reacting emotionally during times of financial stress. The key is discipline and a plan that evolves with the changing circumstances. Having a tax-aware, income-focused, and flexible strategy in place can help you avoid short-term mistakes that impact your long-term goals. Because real success in retirement isn't just about what you've saved, it's how you protect and use it.
Welcome back to Mid-State Money Talk. My name is Cynthia Defazio, joined today by Kevin Dietrich and Joe Dietrich of First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. And if you're just tuning in and joining us for this final segment, we were talking about the terrain of early retirement, how you go up a mountain and how perhaps a different structure is needed getting down the mountain. Well, right now we're going to talk about the long-term view. How do you keep your long-term goals in line with your investment strategy to make sure that you have peace of mind? So thank you for being with us. And Joe, I love that because it's obviously such a very important thing that we were talking about. And Kevin, I want to ask you another important question if I could.
Yeah.
When retirees need to revisit their investment strategies, how often does that begin? Like once retirement begins and they're in that early window, it's not a set it and forget it. When do you have people come back into the office to review how things are going?
Sure, that's a great question. I want to just go back to the previous segment and just make a couple of comments.
Please.
And we were talking about like having accounts structured properly, having some taxable, some tax deferred, and some Roth accounts structured properly, and evaluating those and looking from a tax perspective during pre-retirement, but then also during retirement. But what about long-term care?
Ooh.
I want to just touch on that because
Please.
we have a situation, and lots of times we have situations like this.
Yes.
Is that we get a call from a daughter or a son and said, by the way, I just want to let you know my mom went into a nursing home. So then we need to start taking some withdrawals. We need to start using those buckets that we've placed these funds in to keep the tax burden low and also pay for long-term care. So get the money out efficiently, take the withdrawals necessary to pay for the long-term care, and do it from a tax perspective.
Okay.
And so going back to your question, as far as those regularly scheduled reviews of how they're invested, we do that every 6 months to a year. That's typically the way we do it.
Okay.
We look at your accounts, we do a review with you, but we're always a phone call away. We're very hands-on in our practice.
Love that.
And that's purposefully, because we want you to feel like family, that you can call up or call me and say, hey, Kevin, here's what's going on. Like all these clients we're talking about that calling for a new car or buying a new house or a Myrtle Beach house,
Yes.
or having to do dental work.
Yes.
They're always calling us or giving us and shooting us emails saying, here's what's going on. When we sit down and we do the review with you, we talk about what's changed. How's your family doing? What's changed in your family? How's your health? We talk personally because we want to get to know you. We're family now.
Yes.
And I think that's really important. I think that sets us apart from other groups out there, especially in Central Pennsylvania.
I agree.
It does.
Absolutely.
You treat all of your clients like family. We hear this over and over and over. And to our viewers at home, if you're just watching us for the first time, I've had the honor of working with Joe, Kevin, and Alvin for many, many seasons now, if you will. I think we're on episode 36. And these gentlemen, they are so passionate about learning about clients, asking questions, really uncovering details about an individual's life. And we've been asked before, being as busy as they are, how do they always make time for each and every person? I don't know, but they do it, and they're amazing. So don't miss the opportunity to work with them. And Joe, I want to get back on track if we could for a moment. What signs indicate that an investment strategy may need to be updated? Are there any warning signs?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So we have certainly life stages. We have life events. If you are feeling uncomfortable or confused, these are really important signs that you should be talking with somebody. So you should give us a call and let's sit down. And education is super important to us. We're not just saying, hey, like, here's the 3 things you should do. Like, let's talk about why we're doing what we're doing. There should be a purpose. There is a purpose for every dollar that you have. You should understand what it is that the goals and objectives are. You should understand what it is that you're investing in, understand where your income's coming in. There should be confidence in what is being laid upon you. I mean, it's your plan, right? I say that it's like, it's not my plan, it's your plan. I can give you the plan. I can give you a perfect plan, quote unquote, But if you can't execute it or you're not comfortable with it, then it's the wrong plan. So we want to work with our clients to do that. And I want to make one other point. You said, how do we make time for these people? We have an amazing staff in our office. The ladies and gentlemen in our office are amazing. When you call in, you're going to get a warm voice on the phone.
Yep.
In fact, I pinned up on one of our boards late last year an email from one of our clients that said, hey, I called in and Tyler called me back in like 30 seconds.
Aww.
Right? I mean, so we care about our clients, but you know, when they call in, it's not just a name, that's just a number. They actually know who they are when they call in.
Yes.
So we have a great staff. So
Yeah.
if that's kind of an environment that you would appreciate, we would love to be able to meet you and see if we're a good fit. Call the number on the screen, 888-959-2743, and we would love to talk to you.
Most definitely. I love that. And Kevin, I should ask you, how do retirees balance enjoying life now while protecting the future? We have a couple minutes left.
Wow, that's a loaded question. I think.
You don't got enough time for that one.
Sorry, we only have 2 minutes to be continued.
But I think balance is important. And I think, going back to what Joe says, and I think we'll answer this question as well, is that I think if we educate and the client knows and they understand, because we talk in their language, and we hear that all the time. You talk down to us, we know what you're saying.
Not down to us, but
well, if they think we know all of this stuff, which we do know a lot of stuff, but
you keep it
a lot
simple.
of folks will talk over their heads.
Exactly.
That's what they're saying. So when I say down, it's not a negative thing. But sometimes I do talk down because I'm 6'6". However, that's beside the point. But we talk at their level that they can understand. And if they understand and they understand why, not just what, but why, they can trust. And that's where trust starts to be built.
Yes.
I think that's so important that they understand why we're making these choices. And we preface a lot of times with saying, from a tax perspective, this is the right choice. But from an emotional perspective, this might be what you feel is the right choice. But let's work together and get both of those accomplished.
Most definitely. That's what it comes down to. And again, it's about teamwork. It's your team and the client together makes
It's
that
a family.
perfect fit. It's a family.
Come and join
Joe-
our family.
Come and join our family. Kevin, thank you. Joe, thank you. To our viewers at home, I couldn't have said that better. Come and join our family today. Call in 888-959-2743, 888-959-2743. You're being offered the consultation so that you can have your very own complimentary customized retirement plan written just for you. Thank you for being with us today. Be safe, be happy, and be blessed most of all. And we'll see you back 1 week from today on Mid-State Money Talk. Take care.